This episode of Homemade was previously recorded in front of a live stream audience who asked questions and cook along during the show. If you love cooking and want to join us in the kitchen, visit homemadecooking.com to register for free live classes. Now, let's get cooking.
Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Chef Jenny. Welcome to Homemade Cooking. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is Homemade Cooking, and we are making today, it's Taco Tuesday. Of course, we're making tacos, and not just any tacos. We're making Kahlua pork tacos, a fusion dish, a little bit of Hawaiian, a little bit of Mexican, just like us, Chef Kat. I'm Mexican, Chef Kat's Hawaiian. Hello, Chef Kat.
Hello, Chef Jenny.
She's in charge. She's running the chat. Say hello to her. If you've got any questions, just reach out to her. She'll let you know what's going on. Okay, so first up, I've got here about 3.5 pounds. This is actually pork butt. We're working with a slow cooker today. So I've got I just took out the insert out of the slow cooker so we could put it over here. Couldn't it be easier? First thing, putting that pork right in here. You can see on the pork, there is a little bit of fat. When I unwrapped this, there was a thick layer. I actually trimmed some of that off. So you need a little just to help keep the pork moist. Trigger warning, I know that's a hard word for some people, but we do to keep that pork moist, we keep a thin layer of fat, but you do not need a thick cap on it. Definitely feel free to trim. I'm just gonna work on slicing up an onion here. We're really lucky here in Seattle. There's a ton of amazing Hawaiian food in Washington, so I'm having a blast trying all of that out. All right, I just got onions sliced up. My knife was sharp. I'm not crying. I usually do. I'm hoping the same for you all. I'm gonna start with my seasoning on top. So we've just got a little bit of this fresh ground and put it all over the top. And I am doing fat side up because I want that fat as it's in the pot to kind of base our shoulder here. So make sure the fat cap is on the top. And then we've got a little cumin, and what I really like is a little ginger in here. And ginger it's such a bright spice that I don't think people maybe necessarily realize that it can go into really savory applications. I understand if you instantly kind of think of sweet, but ginger and pork marry really, really well together. And then I'm gonna get, even though it's not in the recipe, I'm just doing a very small sprinkle. I've got some Hawaiian salt here. I'm just now got 2 garlic cloves. So we've got 1 onion sliced up. We've got our spices sprinkled over our pork here. And I'm gonna just mince up this garlic. This is just all the good stuff. We got all the good stuff in here. And then that garlic as well. Worth my hands smelling like garlic after this. Okay, now we're gonna add our liquid. So I've got a little white wine here for some acidity and just adding that in. And then we've got some pineapple juice here. So now we just take this over to our slow cooker, and you can put it on high here. We can go high for 4 to 6 hours, low for 7 or 8 hours. We're now gonna make some tortillas. We've got here, like we said, a whole grain flour. We've just got our masa here. Our masa flour, very readily available in stores. And I've got some water. And I'm gonna mix it around and see how my dough comes together. My hands are clean, so as soon as I kind of get this mixed in, I'm gonna start working with my hands. So I just kind of squeeze it and work it. Based on how old your masa is, based on the humidity of where you live will affect how much water, how dry that masa is, and then therefore how much water you're gonna need to add to it.
What are your measurements for these particular tortillas?
These ones are, so for a cup of flour, I'm using 3/4 cup water. So that's the ratio if you can just increase it or decrease it, but that's it's almost 1-to-1, but I have no problem adding a couple tablespoons more water if it needs it. So if I can, let's see, get a little drop down. You see how nice and soft that is? It's really come together. I'm gonna let it sit covered for about 20 minutes, just because that dough is gonna continue to hydrate. And then I already am gonna do a little TV swap out here. I've got a cast iron, and I'm gonna preheat my pan here. So I've got these guys about golf balls. We're looking for golf balls. And this is a tortilla press. They are not expensive. They're pretty cheap. They come down like this and you press. You unfold it and open it. It doesn't take up a ton of space because it folds in half. A little bit here in the center. I press it down. Now, this is not a bodybuilding competition. I'm not smushing it into oblivion. I'm just going to do a light press on that. And then I flip it upside down on my hand and then kind of gently put it into the pan. I do about 30 seconds to a minute each side. I'm getting a smoke here. And if you guys can see, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera here. It's very hard. I'm getting some puff on it. The puff is the sign that your hydration is where it's supposed to be. The puff is good. That's the steam. That means you have enough water in here. So I'm kind of moving around just to the hot spots in the pan. I've got here, yes, I'm one of those people that has a tortilla warmer at home, but you don't need to have a tortilla warmer. What I've got here is just a kitchen towel folded over in a bowl. And as these are done, I'm gonna put it in here to cover it because actually we love that little residual steam. And you see those little char marks? See that little color there? That's the little blistering that we like. So we're gonna push this up just a slight. Bring it back over just because my pan was smoking a little. Again, you fold it up, put it into your hand, and then just slide it in like that. We lost a corner. Who cares? It's still a homemade tortilla. It tastes delicious. So let me go ahead and do another one here. Fold over, gently press, back up. So if you make homemade flour tortillas, you don't use the press because it's actually a little too much agitation on the flour because you have that gluten in there and it makes it tough. I only use this press for corn tortillas. I use a rolling pin and I roll out my flour tortillas. All right, I'm not gonna do all the tortillas because I think that's a different like ASMR class of just listening to tortilla gently flipping over. But we've kind of got the main components. I'm just gonna chop up a little garnish after this and then we're gonna put it all together. Can you smell that char from the tortillas, Chef Kat?
I can.
It's that corn, it especially like if you've had popcorn, if you've had that kind of toasted corn flavor, it's such a familiar flavor.
I think corn tortillas just have more flavor than flour tortillas.
I like the texture better. I had a Taco Bell phase in college, but that's not Mexican food. That's something else. That's where I'm like, oh, flour tortilla.
Taco Bell doesn't count.
That doesn't count. That's not Mexican food, but that is where a flour tortilla is a good time. But for stuff like this, I just don't think you can beat it. So I'm gonna try to like give a little camera angle here. If you can see the little char on it, look at that. That's what we're looking for. It's not black. It's not burned. And it's also something to think about for proper hydration. It's not cracking. If your tortilla dough, if your masa dough is really dry, it kind of gets all these cracks through it and will crack when you try to fold it into a taco shape. This is also maybe a good time to point out that a lot of times from taquerias or from food trucks, when you order a taco, you will see two of them layered up. It's a one tortilla serving here, people, one. So that's oftentimes because the tortilla is so thin. But when you make them from scratch, if you can see, I didn't press them into like a thin oblivion, they've still got some structure to it. So you don't need to have 2 tortillas here. This is gonna hold perfectly fine. Okay. I know this is a very personal thing, whatever you want, but we've got some lettuce here. Again, I personally, just to get more dark leafy greens, I don't mind some really finely shredded kale tossed with a little lime juice to sit for about 10 minutes to tenderize it. That's great on a taco. Not everyone in my house agrees, so usually that's just for me. But chopped up spinach, dark leafy greens, you don't have to do, get creative with your lettuces, especially this time of year because dark leafy greens are all over the place. I've got, maybe we were commenting earlier, the biggest lime I've ever seen. I thought it was an apple at first. I like just to serve this on the side of tacos. You'd be shocked what a fresh squeeze of lime can do for a taco. So I'll have those on the side here. And then I love having fresh white or yellow onion on top. Just that little crunch, that little bite. Are you a white onion girl?
Absolutely. I just like raw onions in general,
Yeah,
especially
me
in
too.
applications like this. It's just texture, flavor, a little bit of like, just that little bit of, onion spice.
I do. I know people, and I have some fresh cilantro here. Cilantro, you can eat more of the stems. Unlike parsley or basil, where the stems are really fibrous and bitter, you can use more of the stems. I just grabbed a bunch of the leaves, but know that for if you're making cooking with it, you can use that. Boy, there's going to be a party after this class. I'm telling you that right now.
These Kahlua pork is such great for leftovers. It's such a great thing for leftovers.
I think that flavor just concentrates.
It's so versatile. You can put it in sandwiches. You can put it on salads. You go crazy.
Especially with all of the flavoring, like that ginger, like that cumin in here, the onions, the garlic. The longer it sits, the more flavor it's going to have. This is our pork. As you can see, a great way to tell that it's done, it's easily shredding. You want to drain the liquid off. Just because we're doing that magical TV swap out, we left a little liquid in. If this is this makes a lot of pork. If you're thinking to yourself, man, we have a smaller household, how would we get through all this? It freezes beautifully. Go ahead and section it out in your containers. You can freeze it. What a great easy dinner for middle of the week, just to take it out and defrost it. I would put a little bit of that liquid on top before putting your lid on, just so the pork freezing can often pull a little bit of moisture from protein when it's frozen, so a little bit of that juice over the top will keep it. I mean, look at that. I'm smelling the pineapple. I'm smelling all the spices. It smells incredible. Well, let me show it. Let's see. Beautiful. This is great. This is like a 10. My Mexican took over a little, and I thought about carnitas. So if you want an 11 in my book, what I did was took some of this and put it on a sheet tray and put it on the broil for a couple minutes. And then what you get afterwards, this pork with all this delicious crispy bits that got in the oven. Only a couple minutes under broil. This is the one I'm going to use. I mean, this is good, but I think this is the one I'm going to use.
My favorite way to prep Kahlua pork the next day after it's been refrigerated is just throwing it in a pan and frying it until crispy. You don't need to add any fat.
No fat.
Because it's already rendered out, and so it's kind of in that pork.
Yeah.
So you just fry it crispy, and it is so good.
Okay.
It's my favorite part about making Kahlua pork is frying
the
it
day
crispy.
after.
Is frying it crispy the next day.
Well said. Yum. Put a little brown rice in there, and then you can make like a little
rice.
Okay. Oh
rice
my goodness. Okay. There's always the good tortilla, like the one that's perfect. I've got one that's got a little jagged edge on it. It's got some nice char. This is the good tortilla. So that's the one I'm using. I've been waiting all day for this. I wish, friends, you were here now, but this is hard work and I gotta do it. I'm gonna put this little crispy pork on here. And again, a quarter of the plate should be pork, and this other half should be that good whole grain that you want, and then this half would be your veggie. You can take, if you don't want the lettuce directly on, whatever greens you're using, you can do a little cilantro, a little bit of this. Got my onion there. I'm doing some more onion on top, a little more cilantro on top here. And then I've got those limes. I'm gonna squeeze some lime over the top on the taco, and I'm gonna squeeze some lime over the top here of my little slaw, my salad. And there we go. We've got our delicious, beautiful luau pork taco, a perfect hybrid dinner with our little veggies on the side. I'm gonna do the haunch as the juice comes over. This is the proper haunch to do. Maybe a 15. I think I undersold it as an 11. It might be a 15. Man, oh man. That pork, because of the pineapple, it's got just a hint of fruity flavor. Honestly, you do not need salt. The ginger and the cumin are adding such a warmth to it. I'm getting plenty of flavor from it. Our tortilla supported the weight. You don't need to double tortilla it up. It's perfect. We love these classes we would do with you. I want to thank Chef Kat for sharing all of her amazing knowledge about luau pork and for being here and really being in charge. Thank you, Chef Kat. And most of all, we want to thank all of you. Our favorite days are class days because we get to hang out with our favorite people in the world, you homemaders. So thank you for coming. Keep on cooking, everyone. Bye.
Hey there, I'm Joel Gamron. I'm the head chef and founder of Homemade, and we launched Homemade with the idea that we want to bring cooking and the kitchen to the world. So if you love cooking and want to join us in one of our free live stream cooking classes, head to our website, homemadecooking.com. That's homemadecooking.com to register today.